Okay, for question E7 in section 1.1, we're first asked to look at some batting averages. So the question you may be wondering is, how do you calculate batting averages? So as strange as it may sound for an assignment, one thing we may want to do, if you're not familiar with baseball, is just go to Google and Google how do you calculate batting average. We get several things here. This calculator would probably actually do the work for us, so we wouldn't have to do anything. Let's just click on the first one here, and we get right away the formula: hits divided by at-bats equals batting averages. In other words, if I come to bat 10 times, I get 3 hits. I would have 3 out of 10, or 0.300 batting average. So there may be times when you do need to Google to get a context. Other times they will give it to you. So anyway, the batting average of Lou Brock, we notice that we do not have his batting average, but we do have his hits and we have his at-bats. So keeping in mind that batting average is hits divided by at-bats, we can take 3,023 divided by 10,332, and we'll get this 0.293, which, as Wiley tells us here, round to 3 decimal places. And as you've noticed, often, unfortunately, Wiley can be pretty picky, so it is good to obey their little commands there. For Hamilton, on the other hand, we do have the batting average, but we don't have the at-bats. However, because there's only 3 parts of the formula and we have 2 of them, we can always figure out the third. So we have hits divided by at-bats equals the batting average. In other words, 2159 divided by x equals 0.344. So if we rearrange that using algebra, we'll end up taking 2159 divided by 0.344 to get the number of at-bats, 6,276. And similarly for Rains, we have at-bats and batting average, but not hits. So we have x divided by 8872 equals 0.294. And if we multiply this 8872 by our batting average, we'll get the number of hits for Tim Raines. The second question, some similarities here. We have Coca-Cola, and we have the price on October 28th, the closing price on October 29th. Notice that I'm actually translating this into words to get an idea of what's happening. This is something I would recommend when working on these Wiley tasks, because they do use contexts a lot. And if you can get in your mind what's going on in terms of real world things versus just looking for a formula immediately, you'll have better success with these problems, and more importantly, it'll help you out more. The content you're learning in this class will help you more in your real life or career. So we have the change for Coca-Cola. Take this price minus the closing price the next day will give us -8 5/8, which we can convert to a decimal place. Here it tells us to round to 2 decimal places. It's not clear that that's referring to this question also, but as it turns out, it is. If you do have a case where you're getting an answer and that you think is right, please email me and I can either let you know, hey, this is what Wiley's looking for, or I can override the score. I don't want that to be an obstacle, although I know that with online homework it inevitably is. So the more I can do to ease that barrier, I'd love to do that. So percentage change, we're just looking at the absolute change divided by, and we may not be sure which price to use here, whether it's the 137 or the 128 3/8. in this case you would have 2 tries. Let's see, so you would take okay, we take our negative 8.63, and yes, I just now realized I could have used their calculator, divided by 137, and we get negative 6.30. When we convert that to a percentage, in other words, we move the decimal over 2 positions there to get a negative 6% drop. Closing price for Kodak. So again, we're just going to do the same thing here. We know the change. We know what it closed on this day, so we know that it went down. We subtract 181 1/8 minus 11 1/8 to get the 170. General Motors, we have that the change is 7.5 units drop. We know it closed on October 29th at 40, so it had to start off at 47.5 in order to meet those requirements. And then the percentage change, again, we just take the change divided by that 47.5 that we found here. US Steel, we have both of the closing prices, subtract to get 12. It went down 12, hence the negative, and the negative 12 over this 186 would give us a negative 6.45 percentage.